Okay. All right. Aloha and welcome to the 10th annual I Teach 808 Empowering Hawaii's Teachers in Technology Conference. This is sponsored by the Augustine Educational Foundation and Sacred Hearts Academy, Honolulu. My name is Melissa Thatch, and I will be facilitating this session. We are so honored to have Safoura Seddighin here today to share her expertise in a 90-minute presentation named 10 times 10 Languages, the Meaningful Making Speaks. Please be aware that we are recording this session. If you don't like being recorded, you may consider turning off your camera and reviewing the recording later. The recording will be made available on YouTube and shared on I Teach 808's website a week after this event. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Safoura.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. I was going to put a timer here for myself just to know that how much time I have left. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Safoura. I am so pleased to be here today. I apologize about my voice not being pleasant. I lost my voice about 5 days ago, and I was hoping that it would come back, but today it didn't that much, but at least it's not as unpleasant as it was yesterday. So please let me know if anything's unclear. I'm just going to go over it again. And please stop me at any time that you feel like I have to go over something again, or you have a question, or you would like to discuss something, or you would like to add something to the discussion that we're going to have. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. And okay. Is it share now? Awesome. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm just going to go ahead, go back to the first slide here. Okay. Okay, perfect. So my presentation is called 10 times 10 Languages, the Meaningful Making Speaks. And it's a pleasure to be here today. I'm just going to talk about myself a little bit, about my background. I was born in Iran, and I was raised there until I finished my bachelor. I did my bachelor in computer engineering back in the time that I was supposed to. Of course, was a major to do among the majors that we usually get to choose from. Becoming a doctor, a lawyer, a good manager, an engineer. I ended up going for computer engineering because at least I liked it very much. I liked physics and I liked math in high school, and I ended up doing a computer engineering degree. After finishing my bachelor, I moved to the States, and I did a master's in computer science afterwards. And I had a child after that. So that's when I actually got exposed to all the wonderful things happening in the world of child education and early childhood. And I became familiar with so much of the stuff that was happening in the field. And that is actually the time that I moved to Boston with my husband. And I became familiar with this program that was actually the intersection of the Department of Computer Science and the Department of Child Development at Tufts. That's when I started doing my master's, the second master's in designing new technologies for early childhood education. The robot that you see on the right corner top is called Kibo. If you would like to search it afterwards, it's an amazing product. It's actually built for children aged from pre-K to first or second grade, and this is aimed for this target to teach them about programming and sequencing. The three robots at the bottom that you see are three versions or three iterations of the robot that we had to go through to actually get to the point that it is today. The logo that you see after I finished my master's under Professor Beers, who is actually the founder of Scratch Junior, if you search her. In 2016, I moved back to Iran, and I thought that I would take everything that I had learned and everything that I had collected in terms of materials and technologies with me. And I started, I actually co-founded the first educational Fab Lab in Iran, and it was called Fabino. That is a Farsi word for Fabino, and it says that it's the place to make almost anything. And that was our motto, and that is the motto for all the Fab Labs around the world. So I'm just going to go over some of the boring stuff like the theories, but I'm going to make sure that I make it short. And please stop me at any point if you want to add anything or you would like to, discuss something to make it more clear. So we're going to talk about learning real fast. There is constructivism, which is a learning theory that talks about how knowledge is not delivered to the learner, but it's like some blocks that the learner builds on the previous blocks of knowledge that he has learned to make new knowledge. So when we talk about personalized learning, it's not a new bubbly term. It's actually a term that's existing, and it's existed since the dawn of time, and all the knowledge, all the learning is personal, and it does not happen alone. Learning is often socially constructed. So the second theory that we're going to go over is called constructionism, and it actually takes constructivism one step further towards action. So it talks about, so see how constructivism talks about the learning constructing the knowledge on his own, using the experiences that he receives from around him. This theory talks about how making and tinkering and building something outside of your head actually makes the learning more effective. And when the construction becomes shareable, that is when the reflection actually adds to the process of learning. A shareable construction can be a robot, a musical composition, a paper structure, a poem, a conversation, or even a new hypothesis. So why do we think that make constructionism more possible? Why is it that it gives that a better chance? It's more than just hands-on learning, actually. It's just that the power of it comes from within a learner. When there's a question or an impulse from inside of you, you don't need an outside force to actually push you. It's just you that leads the entire process. And the more meaningful it becomes for you, the more power you will have as a learner. The learners are empowered by connecting with everything that they know, feel, and wonder. And that's when the result stretches itself as opposed to being pushed to actually get to the result. And this was an interesting quote that when I was reviewing everything yesterday, I came across that I wanted to share here, because when it comes to making and teaching through making, the assessment and the that process of assessment is something that's a challenge for most of the teachers. Making is a way of documenting the thinking of a learner in a shareable artifact. When there is an artifact that's shareable, you could see the stages of a project that is under construction, and that is the evidence for productive thinking or scaffolding opportunities. So this is a chance for learning to learn. Instead of children expecting to be taught, they are taught to try to learn their learning, and that's what makes it so valuable. I'm going to go over Samuel Papert here because he is a valuable, very interesting topic to go over. Like this person, I really urge you to search him, do a little bit of research on him afterwards, and see all the things that him and his group have done in the past 40 years or so. One interesting thing about Papert is that all the people who are doing, like many of the people who are doing really valuable stuff in the field of maker movement and making and, creating all these objects to think with, are doing. Many of those people are either students of Papert or have been working with him at some point. And that is where you could see how, inspirational he has been to all the people who have met him at some point in their lives. So Papert was a mathematician, a computer scientist, a pioneer in artificial intelligence field, a psychologist, an educator, an inventor, an activist who was actually banned to exit South Africa because of his activities, and he was born in South Africa. He developed the constructionism theory after working with Piaget for some time, and he was the world's foremost expert on how technology can provide ways to learn. He believed in the fact that computers are not supposed to serve children in terms of just providing them with stuff. He believed in children taking charge and controlling the devices and computers to actually create stuff. So he believed in children becoming the producers as opposed to becoming the consumers. And that is the challenge that I'm having on a daily basis today with my children, my everyday concern about them being the producers of technologies that they are receiving on a daily basis in every moment in their lives. And for the past 40 years, Papert and his colleagues and his collaborators have spent their time on creating objects to think with. Tinkering is what Papert and his people have been focused on. This is a nice quote from Papert. He says that the goal is to teach in such a way as to produce the most learning from the least teaching. This is what we mean when we talk about learning to learn. When we talk about the process of teaching and learning being student-centered, when we talk about how the learner takes charge, and making is a great opportunity to make that happen. Is anything that you guys would like to talk about at this point? Please stop me if you would like to discuss anything at this point. Oh, okay, awesome. I got a message here in the chat and I got excited. Okay, I'm being heard. Okay, so when I decided to go back to Iran in 2016, I was so confident that I could do good stuff. It's really interesting to know that Iran has one of the highest ratios of unemployment and university graduates. So we have a high number of people, like children, like kids, getting into the universities, and there is a terrible, it's just a scary entrance exam for all the kids across the country. And if you pass it, you can enter the university and you can start your studies. But what happens after that? Nobody's actually thought about that. My husband was a faculty at the University of Isfahan, where we were residing when we went back, and there was not like he on a weekly basis, he would receive these letters from his students saying that they were going to drop out, but it was a pleasure to have a course with him. He teaches polymers and chemistry, and they would say goodbye like on a weekly basis. And it's really scary when something like that happens. The education system is old, it's corrupted, it's all formed around this mafia of people working on how to get the kids to enter the universities. There is like like so much money spent on all these classes and courses and exams to get kids ready to get to the universities. And as I said, after that, Nothing. People just graduate and they go unemployed with no idea of what would be the next stage for them. And one big thing, lack of problem solving skill. Because when you think about it, if you are a graduate and you enter a university and you don't know what to do with your life, the first problem is you don't know how to problem solve. So I was like, I have got all these tools and technologies that I have collected. I have got a space and I have an approach in mind, which was design thinking. I'm just going to go back and I'm going to solve the problems over there. What happened later though? I didn't expect that. I wanted to fix things. I wanted to create opportunities for people to practice problem solving and collaboration and other 21st century skills. And I had both adults and children as my audience in mind. But then I had to change my mission because you know what? No one had asked us to help. No one was acknowledging that. So people were not either acknowledging the problem that was there, or they didn't see it possible that it could be solved even partially. So it was like me over there giving a medicine that nobody was wanting. I wanted to talk about this briefly here, that to just focus on the fact that the mindset has to be set first. If I am an educator and I think that making would bring opportunities to my class, I just have to make sure that my own mindset is set on the fact that this could be a solution. So I'm just going to put all the efforts and all I can, and I'm going to do all my best to see if this as a solution is going to work. It's all about the mindset. So all the technologies that I had taken from here that actually nobody had access over there, the great space that I had, and the great claims that I was talking about on a daily basis, nothing worked at first because the people's mindset was just not set on this. This is what happened to us. I'm going to talk about design thinking afterwards, and I saw that there are some sessions on design thinking also happening, but I wanted to focus on that later on. But if you look at this chart here, you could see that we were just thinking naively that starting with an open space would help us. Well, when no one's waiting for you over there to bring your open space, no one's going to come to your open space. So we kept thinking about like, okay, how can just we take this to people to give them a taste of what it could be with the hope that way they would come back to us for more. So we started offering different classes. We started with robotics, electronics, and stop motion video making. After a while, we were on site, right? So we were not, so not that many people were exposed to what we were doing. So we started going to different schools and to different institutions, different organizations. We started offering classes on their sites instead. After a while, I started to realize, oh, okay, so how about the gender differences? What about the differences in their taste? What if these people whom are I'm targeting are not really interested in robotics and electronics and even the stop motion video making? I started offering t-shirt design classes. I started offering slime making classes. So we slowly added to the collection of classes with the hope to target more people. And that was the time that we had enough audience to start thinking about clubs and enrichment camps so that we could have like a focus group that we would lead throughout a couple of months. And right when we thought that we were gonna actually survive and we were starting to think that we were doing good, That's when the COVID hit. So I lost all my audiences. I lost my classes. I lost all the schools because there was no in-person stuff happening. We started to think again. We had this iterations that we were going through from the beginning, and we had to do it again. So we started thinking about how about we create a platform, like an online platform, and we would just pack the stuff, pack all the materials that are needed for different classes, and just send them over to the schools that were trying to still hold their technology and skill classes. Send them to people who were just dying because of all the virtual things happening inside their houses. So we started to pack the stuff. And let me tell you, when we talk about economic challenges, um, when it's under sanctions in Iran, it means that the price of the stuff changes. They just change on a daily basis. It's you pack something, you estimate some price for that, and then you wake up and the whole deal is off because no price is the same when you wake up in the morning. So we had to work with that, and we had to go through that, and we did survive despite all those challenges. This is the space that we had. We had a big space inside the university, although that we had no university students coming over for 2 years. But the space was divided between, based on, the activities that were being done, based on the groups that were residing inside the space. It was a good, big space. But all the materials, my husband was telling me that why would you list a collection of materials here? Nobody is interested in them. I just wanted to tell you this. No one has access to Lego education kits in Iran, right? So it's either very expensive or it's just, not accessible, basically. 3D printers, very expensive. Even the arts and craft materials were expensive at some point throughout the 6 years that I was practicing in Iran. But what I did was I did my best to collect all the stuff as much as I could. So I traveled back to the States. I got Lego education kits as donations from outreach centers at 2 different universities. I got a fabricator from a company that I'm going to talk about later on as a donation from them to us to support the move that we were doing in Iran. I went to different companies in Iran to collect their good junk, like the leftovers and whatever that was clean enough for us to use. We also started making our own 3D printer because we had mechanical engineering students. But I'm betting that if you want to work with a company or work with an outreach center, it's very possible that the 3D printer can be donated to you or partially covered by different centers. So I just wanted to list this stuff here and tell you that it wasn't easy, even for me as a co-founder, to collect this stuff, but I did it anyway because that mindset was set on the fact that we wanted to do this. So I promise this is not boring. This is an actually interesting model. The design thinking model was the model that we decided to take to our Fab Lab and our makerspace and work everything around it. Design thinking talks about how you listen well, so you empathize. When you empathize, that means you listen instead of trying to just recognize the problem. So you first listen, and after listening well, which is a skill, you get to the point that you can actually define a problem and ideate and prototype and test and implement. So I wanted to just emphasize on that a little and talk about how this helped us to have the kids become better listeners also. This is moving from empathy to action. This is a very valuable model. But even if you don't want to get into the complication of this model, you can just focus on the one on right, the robot one. It's called a TMI model. So first of all, avoid giving too much information. First of all, avoid giving too much instruction and focus on 3 stages that could go on through an iteration, rounds and rounds of iterations. Think, make, improve. This is easy for kids to remember. This is something that you should do on a daily basis when you're living, when you're locked behind a door and you don't have a key. This is also something that you should learn to do, not only in the classroom while making a robot or developing a model for your structure. This is a model that we want to internalize for children and us as adults. So may I know like how many participants we have? I just wanted us to do a short activity here. How can I have access to, okay, we have 6 participants. Is it possible for everybody to maybe get their hands on these items listed here or no? It's just that this is a nice, easy activity, but it has a couple of details that I would like to discuss. Would you guys like to maybe if we can wait for like a couple of minutes for you guys to maybe go and get that stuff? Is it possible for you all? Maybe show me a sign. Say something. Yes.
Can definitely grab those. Give me a second.
Awesome, Ruby. Thank you. Others also, if you feel like it, it's interesting. We can tinker together. So I'm just gonna wait for maybe 3-4 minutes. Is that okay? While we're waiting, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about Papert again. While we're waiting for like 3 minutes, maybe for people to get this stuff. I was going to talk about Papert. Papert is a really interesting person to research. You have to just read on him and go through his papers if you feel like it. Go through all the things that he has done. He actually developed the first programming language for children that was called Logo. I don't know if anybody here has come across Logo before, or if you have done any kind of programming with Logo before, but that one also is a really interesting language if you feel like going over it. And it's also available, and they have a community to support people who want to learn about it. And with Logo, they gave power to children when it wasn't a valid matter for people to see children actually working with computers and machines. And the last big research project that Papert did was at a present for teens. And it's really interesting. You can read on that too. And that's where Papert realized that besides all the high-tech stuff, the program languages and the robots that they were working on, or all the other devices, it was necessary to have the low-tech materials for people, for those children, teens to work with. The project gave teens, troubled teens, a big, perfect chance to express themselves. And it was interesting that Papert kept telling his people, his instructors, that you don't have more than 30 seconds or maybe a minute to talk to these kids. And that's that. And after that, it's you, them, making, creating, tinkering, and you being on watch to see all those potentials and all those opportunities to connect with these kids. So not more than 30 seconds. Isn't that interesting? Like to talk. And after that, it's all action. And when I read about Papert, it's just like so inspirational. I just wanted to share that with you. So Ruby, did you get the stuff? Were you able to collect those?
Yeah. How long does the string have to be?
Oh, 20 centimeters, maybe
Okay, got it.
10 inches. Yeah. Okay. So maybe you could, if Ruby's the only one who's got the stuff, can you keep your mic on, please? So we could talk through it together. So I'm going to give you a problem here. And we're going to consider the design thinking model. And the part of it that we focused on, the listening part, the empathy part. And we're going to go through the problem. So Ruby, I want you to move the, did you get a paper clip or safety pin? Doesn't matter.
Paper clip.
Okay, awesome. So just consider a 20 centimeters distance, right? So a point A, a point B on the table in front of you, right? So there's a point A and there's a point B, 20 centimeters apart, right?
Okay.
Okay. So I want you to get the paper clip from point A to point B without any part of your body touching it.
Huh?
Right?
Okay.
So I don't want you to drag it. So, okay, I'm going to go over it again. So there's point A and there's point B in front of you, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So I want you, so this is the problem that I'm stating here, right? So I want you to get the paper clip from point A to point B without any part of your body touching it. So I don't want you to drag it. I don't want you. So once I was doing this activity and somebody told me, can I use my tongue? And I said, no. So that's why I say that no part of your body touching it.
Okay.
And you could use all this material that you have, a pen or pencil, 2 pieces of tape, the paper clip, and a piece of string.
Can you see me?
No, is it because I'm sharing my?
Probably.
Wait, yeah, wait. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm taking the string and I'm sticking it to the paper clip and I'm dragging it to the other point.
Okay. Can you maybe the camera doesn't cover that part. Can you? Okay, awesome. So
So I take the tape and then I stuck it on and then I'm moving it.
okay, so that's one way of it. Okay, awesome. Can you think of just one more way?
There you go. The pen.
Okay. You know what? I
Well-
never actually thought about like doing it this way. So, okay. This tells you that a problem that was complicated at first, this might look too simple, right? So this might look too simple to you, but pay attention to the fact that the problem that I gave you first sounded unfamiliar and complicated, right? Because you said "huh" at the beginning when I told you that to move the paperclip from point A to point B without touching it. But when you listen to it for the second time and the third time, it doesn't feel that complicated anymore. Plus, in addition to what you just showed us, which were like 2 ways to do this problem, I could do 3 more ways to move the paperclip from point A to point B. One complex way that I was thinking about was to have my pencil, right, on point A,
Mhm.
and tape string, right, to it, and tape the other side of the string to point B, and have my paper clip slide on it like a zip line.
Can I touch
Right?
the string?
Okay, so I'm gonna do it for you. So see the string here?
Yeah.
So I was gonna do this. I was gonna tape the string here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna tape the other side of the string to point B, right? And I was gonna put the paper clip on the string so it would like go like a zip line and just get transferred to point B.
Oh, I never thought to make
See,
it.
and that is way
smooth.
more complicated than what you just offered. And what you just offered was actually a way that I had never heard in any of the sessions that I had done this activity with all those people like before. So I just wanted to remind us again that design thinking is an amazing cycle that looks complicated, but is not, because it just have you think more clearly, listen better, and think of all the things that you could do that otherwise you would think that, oh, okay, that's not even possible, or yeah. So I'm gonna go to the next slide. I'm just gonna make this part short because I don't want to bore you guys, but wanted to emphasize here again that to do the TD or to do the design thinking process inside the classes, there are different sets of activities or different ways that you could practice the a design thinking framework. Again, design thinking framework is a framework to practice problem solving. So when we talk about problem solving, we need a framework to practice that. And design thinking gives you steps, and because of the steps, you have better way of assessing the progress also. So what we did was that we use different ways to practice design thinking, depending on the age of the audience, depending on the level of skills of the audience, and depending on the complexity of the technology, you could do differently. We did instructed projects for younger kids, or when we wanted to introduce a technology inside a classroom. So instructed projects means that you, for example, you want them to make a zip line. So you show a video, you show a model, you talk about how a zip line works, you let the brainstorming happen, you let the kids chime in, and then you start making a zip line. So this means that you are giving the instruction, but keep in mind that we want to avoid giving too much instruction again. But we are giving the instructions, we're giving the materials, we're telling them how the end system should work. And that way we are supporting the kids throughout the process. So again, this works with younger kids, and this works when you are introducing a technology or tool, and because this is new, they require more help. I'm sorry. The next step, we're just giving small challenges. When you have kids who are more skilled when it comes to the matter of like problem solving or forming the problem and just coming up with solutions, you start giving small challenges. Or when I have introduced robotic construction or whatever tool or a 3D printer or a fabricator, sorry, that's when I can give small challenges. If I have instructed you throughout a couple of sessions to learn how to work with a tool, then I can now define a little challenge for you and let you lead the process. And the big real world challenges, of course, come when you have older audience or more skilled audience, or when a technology has been mastered enough so that the kids actually can sit and they are given a real world challenge, and now they have to brainstorm and come up with a solution and then think about that, okay, I have these technologies and I have these tools and I could just use this one and maybe use this one later. And this means just complete freedom. But again, the teacher being the leader of the club or the process, and the students being in the center and actually like taking charge of the whole process. Can we, so again, let's see. So we still have 6 participants. Can we maybe share some stories here? I really would love to hear if you guys have ever tried DT, design thinking, in any way, even if you didn't know the name, or any other process that you have used to lead your problem solving sessions, or anything that you would like to share. And also, if you have ever had experiences with any kinds of these ways that are shared here, the instructed projects, small challenges, or big real world challenges, and you would like to share them with us. Or if you would share the challenges even, I really would love to hear about them. Is there anyone here who would like to share? No. Yes. Just the problem solving example happening inside your classes. Also, I'd love to know like what subjects you guys teach. Is it possible for you to just write those in the chat section?
I can share.
Oh, awesome.
So I actually have been out of the classroom for 2 years. I'm in student activities now, but I used to teach English. And before the term design thinking came about, we would, I guess, was the former name project-based learning? Or is that PBL is something separate?
PBL, yeah, PBL.
Is project-based
Yeah, I was
learning
going
the
to talk about project-based learning. Yeah, yeah. So let's just think about all of them as like common stuff. Like shared, they have
Okay.
something like something in common. The project-based learning, student-centered learning, and the design thinking. Let's just assume that they have so much in common right now.
Okay. I started off with my 8th graders, and I instructed them to create their own version of utopia based on a novel they read called The Uglies. And it was in collaboration with their history class of ancient civilizations. So we would challenge them with creating a utopia, but what if they ran out of water, or the sun didn't shine, or there was overpopulation and lack of resources?
Okay, awesome. And then did you guys, so that was in writing, right?
That was in writing and actually building something.
Okay. And what materials did they use?
Some were with foam board and paper tape, some with clay models. Someone created it out of cake.
Oh, awesome.
That was fun.
Yeah.
So it all depended on who was presenting at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most elaborate one this was a while back when I first started teaching. So the most elaborate one was when someone used a 3D model online, and this was before PowerPoint, or it was some way through PowerPoint. I can't even remember what she used, but that was kind of innovative for us to see a 3D model.
Okay, awesome. And may I ask, like, what kind of, like, when you were practicing, can you tell us, like, what kind of technologies did you guys use at any point? Like, even if it was just a computer, like the softwares that you guys got the chance to use, did you ever like try anything out of like other than the materials that you just talked about, and of course computers to write? What other technologies or tools did you guys use?
They presented not only with a physical model, but they also had a background of PowerPoint to talk about the different concepts we were asking them to, the broad questions we were asking them to help explain. And
so it seems that like the small challenges were like the partial, partially missing part of the story, and it's amazing. I feel this is good in the sense that they don't feel like they've lost all control, but some of it, so it doesn't overwhelm people, as opposed to just just have them challenged partially. And that's really actually something that we also use sometimes. And it's funny that for us happened because we didn't have the materials that we needed, because again, I would use some of the lesson plans that I learned here, or I had research, and it was just available here, but then over there I didn't have the material, so I had to replace the material with something else, or even like live inside the class. I would tell the kids that, oh, okay, so we were gonna use this, but now we don't have it. What are we gonna do now? So I think that adds to their power, in the sense that the whole story is not gone. Some of it is gone, and they're gonna like find a patch, and they're gonna fix it and go ahead. Anyone else would like to chime in, just share challenges? Also, if you guys like to talk about your challenges when it comes to technology, if you've had any experience with using technology at any of the subjects that you guys are practicing, I would love to hear that, because I'm going to share some of our challenges back in Iran with you when we were implementing different things over there. Okay, English, coach, religion. Well, this is interesting, and I can talk about that. Actually, cultural making is something that we were aiming for when we were back in Iran, and it's really interesting. I mean, I'm going to talk to you. So any more subjects? No, we have 6 participants, so we. Okay, let's move on. So if you look here, this is what our makerspace looked on a daily basis or different times of the week. We had instructed sessions on creating slimes when we were talking about polymers, and we're teaching a little bit about chemistry. Sorry. We started designing t-shirts, and it was fun, and we had lots of girls practicing that. I don't know why. It's just that, I don't know, for some reason it was just more appealing to the collection of the audience that I was dealing with. The center picture, the bottom picture, the center one, they're working with a 3D pen. The 3D pen is a valuable tool in the sense that it gives you a 3D perspective without having to deal with the complication of working with a 3D printer. A 3D printer is the one listed on top corner Right. That is the 3D printer. And the packages of Lego that you see in the bottom right are the ones that I was able to collect as donations from different outreach centers when I came back to the States to collect stuff. And we also had success in creating stop motion videos. Kids love them. When it came to practice literacy, when it came to practice history, when it came to practice, um, let's say, programming at the same time as they were actually creating the version of the program that they were creating on their computer, outside of the computer and outside of their heads on a piece of paper with a blue background. It was just amazing what they could do with stop motion video. Um, and um, I guess we did that. And if you're still wanna share the joys and challenges, let's do that at any point that you feel you're ready. I basically, back in Iran, what I did in a maker space in a form of a fab lab and with all the technologies, and let me tell you this, I just kept reminding myself to tell you this. I come from, so the workshop is supposed to be on the challenges of integrating technologies into classrooms. I just want to tell you, I just want you to tell you this. I come from a technical background. So I did a bachelor in computer engineering. I worked with electronics and circuits and different workshops. I also have a background in computer science. So my technical background, you would say, should be strong. Maybe 80% of what was happening inside my fab lab, I had no clue about them. Like I had no clue how the technologies were performing, or how the tool that was being applied in one of the classes was actually being applied. But I just went with it. I learned as we went on. I used the support of the other instructors in the class. I just knew how to plan. I just knew what the end product or what the end goal was. And I wanted them, or I would ask the instructors to just help me to implement with that specific technology or tool. So I wanted to emphasize on the fact that you don't have to know about the technology or the tool that you're going to apply in your classroom beforehand. You just have to know enough to start a class, and you're gonna have to learn, alongside your students as you go on. When we did the robotics back at Tufts, we were trying to integrate the technology, which was the robotic construction kit at the time, inside the classrooms, right? So we thought about the fact that if we want to have the teachers want to try these, we have to show them ways to easily integrate this into their traditional classroom. So we went to the elementary teachers who were, for example, trying to teach literacy or social studies, and we would tell them, okay, you could use this robot, and you could have your children program them to implement different dances from around the world. That way, you would have the kids measure, you would have the kids study different dances, listen to different musics from different sides of around the world. You would give the kids who were from all these different backgrounds the power and the pride for actually being able to practice something that meant something to them, the meaningfulness of it, right? And then you would have them on this screen trying to fix something that would annoy them for like 1 hour and 2 hours. But then at the end, when all this was resolved and when the robot was dancing, you have achieved so much that all that hassle and all that craziness was worth it. So who am I? was a project that was defined, was actually a curriculum that was defined on integrating robotics kits into traditional classrooms in elementary schools. It's all about, as I say here, it's all about looking for opportunities to enhance the more traditional subjects in the spirit of making. Making is just a way of doing it. You could just look for different ways to expand what's happening inside your traditional classrooms. I'm just going to show you a video on how we actually implemented the Who Am I curriculum using the robotic kit, the robotics kit that I showed you at the beginning, the keyboard ones.
Sorry, the video is not on our screen. Can you go back and, sorry.
Can you not see anything then?
No, we still see the slide, but not the video.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I was enjoying it. I was like, oh, everybody's enjoying it. I'm sorry. Let me, okay. So if I share this, do you see the video now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna play from the beginning.
Thank you.
Is it good now?
Yes.
Look how these robots are personalized. It's the power of this kind of technology that gives the kids the chance to actually make connection with the robots through personalizing them. Okay. So I'm gonna have to share my presentation again. Screen. So is it shared now? Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the power of a tool is shown in a form of how much connection children can make with it. When we talk about the project being meaningful, the learning being meaningful, we need a potential for that. And any kind of technology or tools that gives you that is a winner. Um, Either it's a crayon or a piece of paper or a 3D printer or a vinyl cutter, anything. And I just want to focus on the fact that there is no difference between a crayon or a printer. It's just a technology. It takes some time getting comfortable with it. No one knows fully how to operate any of it because no one has explored all the potential that is inside a crayon, as no one has explored all the potential that comes with a 3D printer. I just want to say it again that I think instead of thinking about the complexity of a project or a tool or technology, what we have to focus on is how much potential it brings to us in terms of giving us a chance to expand the opportunities of learning that it brings along for the students. I was going to talk about cultural making a little, and it's interesting that one of the subjects that was listed here was religion. So I come from a city in Iran. It's called Isfahan. If you search it, you're gonna be able to, just search Isfahan like historical buildings, and it's gonna show you. So Isfahan was the center of the country, I think maybe like a couple hundred years ago, and because of that, there are like a ton of historical buildings and beautiful architecture happening all around the city. And one of the things that upsets everybody is just this connection between the young generation and all the historical values and cultural value that's happening, and that being broken, right? So because of the young generation is not into exploring all these beauties and the values that that are there, and people just complain about, oh, why the connection is broken. Well, you have to again think about all the opportunities that are there for the young generation to be connected without them knowing that we're actually like trying to connect them. So we thought about, okay, if the cultural making is what we want to happen because the challenge is this broken link, then we have to focus on those tools and technologies that would bring us more opportunities, so that we could have these kids explore more in relation with what's already all over the city. So the process is like this. We first think about what makes it meaningful for them. What are the characteristics of this context that we have to brainstorm about so that we could decide about what technologies or tools are going to be proper for us to work with. So we just brainstormed. We realized that roots were important for us. History was important. Religion was something that we wanted to consider. colors, exploring the architecture, the pride that came with it, the chemistry of colors, and again, materials that were used inside those buildings, the measurements, the poems that came with those, the geography, because, well, some of the bridges and some of the buildings have been built so many years ago that the geography and all the, the weather condition and everything's just affecting them. So when we thought about all these terms and concepts that were important to us, we tried to find as many connections as possible to what could count as learning objectives. So consider a technology and skills course inside a high school, right? So they gave us this book and they wanted us to just bring projects for them so that they could say that they have fulfilled this syllabus or this book for the season and they're done. Instead of that, we just put aside the book, right? So we just put the book aside and we thought about all these different things that were important, that actually meaningful. And we looked at the book and we realized that, oh, okay, the book already has how to make models chapter. It already has something on the chemistry of materials in the building. The book already had something about architectural matters like history or whatever that was connected to it. And so what we proposed was that instead of doing the book, we could do a cultural making curriculum. And in addition to all those chapters, we will bring measurement challenges and modeling. And we will also cover some poems and some matters in geography. And we will also bring some stuff in relation with religion and history and roots to you. And that's what we told the administrators and the principals. And that's something that people want. And it takes extra effort, but at the end, because it's meaningful, it just gives pleasure to everybody, not only the students, but also the implementers, like the educators and whoever else that's involved in the whole process. Also, something else, my teenager was talking to me about how to make money the other night. I told him, well, it seems that the cultural differences is just something that people are just more interested in now, especially with all the things that are happening in Iran. People want to know more and people are interested to find out more about the language and the writing and the culture now. Why don't you take advantage of that and do some research on some of the forms of writing? There's this form of writing and drawing combination sort of thing that they would turn drawings into, they would turn writings into drawings. I don't know the term, though, like a specific thing that's used for it, but they would see how they would make logos, for example, but the logo is actually made of letters. So same thing in Farsi. So I was telling him that, okay, do some research on that and see if you could learn how to do that using a computer and start coming up with meaningful words and phrases here, but in Farsi, and turn those into drawings and print them on t-shirts and sell them to your friend. This way you're giving messages, you're promoting culture connections, and you're earning money. So this actually covers everything together. And what's better than that? So when you talk about cultural making, these are the things that you have to think about. So we have to do calculations. So what are the tools? Papers and pens. We have to make models. We could use cardboards. We need to make models. We could use molding and casting as well. To make models, if we had a vinyl cutter, we can use a vinyl cutter. If we don't, that's okay. We can still use the other stuff. Also, if you have an old laptop and a desktop, which we did when we were working in Iran, the laptops, a couple of old laptops were among my treasures that were collected here in the States. you could use design softwares and do research. And if you want to have a better perspective when it comes to 3D and 2D perspective, you could still use a computer. If you have 3D pens, better. If not, you could still use cardboards. And if you have more high-tech stuff, good for you. If you don't, that's okay. You still have replacements. Again, you look at the collection of tools and technologies that you could take to your classrooms as just a precious toolbox. Your toolbox includes crayons and papers, cardboards, computers, laptops, 3D printers, vinyl cutters, robotic kits, electronics. It could include many of them, some of them, or just a few of them. And that's okay. What matters is just looking for the right tool in the toolbox. Either it's the crayon or a 3D printer. I just wanted to add here that some of the game changers that could be used in tremendous ways in classrooms are fabricators that include technologies for creating customized real-life objects. We say creating customized real objects because with fabricators, I don't know how familiar the participants here are with fabricators. Do we have anybody who's worked with fabricators here before? So I don't know how familiar you are, but the point about fabricators is just that you give them a digital file of whatever you want to print. And the special thing about them is just that you give them a digital file and they just create a 3D object for you. So imagine how you print a file on a paper. That's a 2D print. Just imagine printing a 3D object with a 3D printer. That's how it works. Also laser cutters, CNC millings, vinyl cutters. Those are all fabricators, meaning that they could give a 3D dimension to the object that you want to create. Physical computing includes all the technologies that interact with the real world around. Arduinos, robotics, electronics that would sense and they would interact, and programming and active mastery over the machines. I kind of know that getting your hands on fabricators and physical computing might be challenging, but getting your hands on programming should not be challenging. If you have a computer inside your classroom, then you are able to program on it. There are a ton of free stuff, valuable stuff. Because they're free, that doesn't mean that they're not supported or a community of great people are not there to support you. So when we talk about storytelling, in today's session, we talk about how we could challenge the kids throughout literacy and storytelling. We can talk about computers and programming. How? Again, one of the challenges in Iran was the fact that the kids' connection with all these great poets and poems were broken. Well, we wanted them to create a great poem on the computer. They programmed it. They used the programming language of Scratch to actually create all those scenes from the story of that poem. And they create an amazing story just on the computer without having to go through the suffer of reading the context. When they did that, they actually became willing to, explore the story in a form of text more. Some of the amazing resources that are there, I just listed here. First of all, please, even if you don't consider after this workshop, even if you don't consider having any kind of technology integrated into your classroom or being used in your classrooms or your work, just go to the website and explore it. See all the works that have been done or is being done. See the support that's there. Go to the resources and just read them. It's going to give you inspiration. It's going to give you an amazing feeling of power over something that you could do and you are able to do. You're already there. You're so capable of doing it without you knowing it. I was gonna talk about the Fab Learn Fellow program also to you. So the Fab Learn Fellow program is a program that's actually supported by TLTL Group, Professor Blickstein at Columbia University. This program was developed to support educators and administrators, all the people who are in somehow connected with the movement, the make a movement, sorry. The make a movement, and who ever was interested in doing something in relation with making and creating and fab labs and maker spaces. The program is amazing. They have every 2 years they open the program and you could just submit your application, sort of an SOP sort of thing, statement of purpose for why you want to become part of the program, and they're going to support you throughout the next 2 years of implementing whatever kind of making that you're going to have inside your classrooms or centers. There is this amazing book called Meaningful Making: Projects and Inspiration for Fab Labs and Maker Spaces, again by the Fab Learn Fellow program. It's an amazing book full of ideas. We talked about Papert. Papert is a great person. Please research him. And if you're interested, there are 3 books that Papert has written for 3 types of audiences. The Children's Machine is specifically written for educators. Programming languages, free, available online. You don't have anything other than a laptop or a desktop to access it. And there's a great community of people there to support you. There is an educator section, just for you and as an educator. And there are hints to start, and there's everything to support you. There is Scratch Junior. If you are dealing with early childhood settings, the Scratch Junior is specifically designed for audience pre-K to second. Code.org is an amazing website. They have a ton of resources. Again, they have a different section for educators, and they're going to support you throughout the whole thing. And the last thing, but not least, this is an amazing resource. Please take advantage of it. I specifically talked to these folks, and they said that they're going to offer a free license for a year for you to use their software. It's called Fable Vision Learning. Please go to this link. They specifically created it for this conference for the people whoever was registered for this conference. And when you go to the link, they're going to give you a free license for a year to use their software. When you go to Fable Vision Learning, you're going to see a collection of different tools that they offer for all the makers and all the educators who are interested in doing, just taking advantage of all these technologies and tools provided. I can't tell you enough how great these people are. Please go check them out. They are very nice people. They're really great folks. They're gonna support you throughout the whole thing. And this is the poem, The 100 Languages. I just wanted to list it as a reminder for us not to forget what great resources we have, and not to miss the opportunity of taking advantage of them. Thank you so much for having me today. It was a great opportunity for me, and it was so great to be here. And I hope you have, just like the presentation, I hope you get somehow, at some point in your path, get to a point that comes in, this thing today comes in handy for you. And please, if you need help with implementing anything inside your classrooms, I would be more than happy to help you in any possible way. If I know someone I can connect you, if I know a technology or tool that you could use inside a class, I would be more than happy to find for you. I could just make the connections, and I would be more than happy to do that. So please let me know, and feel free to contact me. My email address is also listed here. So please feel free to shoot an email, just even if you want to talk. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much, Safoura. That was amazing. And thank you all for being here. We hope that you found this session helpful and that you made some valuable connections. A special thanks again to our sponsors, Sacred Hearts Academy, Honolulu, and the Augustine Educational Foundation for making this conference free for 10 years. Please help us complete the survey on the website, iteach808.com. I'm putting that in the chat right now. So we can continue to receive grant funding. You will also receive a certificate of participation after completing the survey and automatically be entered to win one of 10 $10 Target gift cards if you complete the survey by February 4th. The survey will also be sent to the email address that you use to register with. So please make sure to check your spam folder for any emails from iteach808hawaii@gmail.com. Thank you again for being here today. And we are doing this again next Saturday. So feel free to join us then. All right. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye. Bye.